Well, hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and a slight change of pace today because I need to have a chat about Thrustmaster and why, in my opinion, you should just avoid buying from them, like, altogether, you should just avoid it. I'm making this video because 2 days ago, my TX wheelbase nearly completely broke down. After I've been trying to fix it for like 2 months, it's had all these problems. And I haven't been able to fix it, and it nearly completely killed itself, 2 days ago, like I said. But then that also led to my set of relatively expensive pedals nearly breaking as well, before I managed to fix them. And it's just really opened my eyes about how bad Thrustmaster is at making, reliable wheels and stuff like that, and it nearly stopped me from not being able to play any racing game at all or making any content, because for a brief day I didn't have a wheel to use because it just broke. And this has happened so many times over the last few years that I felt like I needed to talk about it online, and not just with people who don't care about it, like my friends. So without further ado, let's get straight into it and why you shouldn't buy Thrustmaster gear. Okay, so firstly, I want to talk about the wheelbase. So I have a Thrustmaster TX wheelbase, which I bought about 3.5 years ago, back in 2021, for about 480 Australian dollars, which is about 290 American dollars, or about £300. Over the past few months, I've had this really bad disconnecting issue where, I'll be mid-race, and the wheel will just turn off. I can't use the buttons, like my look left and right, my windscreen wipers, headlights, brake biases, traction controls, ABS, the entire lot. I just can't use any of it. And the force feedback, although it doesn't disappear completely, it significantly reduces in, power and overall torque when this happens. You guys would have seen this happen, probably quite a few times, on video, especially with the Super Formula video I made, where with my Ferrari wheel, it disconnected on the last lap of the race, and caused this whole issue where I couldn't use voice chat or anything like that, and I had to switch to my actual shifter down there, which for a Formula car is just ridiculous. And I've tried every trick in the book to fix this issue. I've had a look on the Thrustmaster tech support website, and they've been no help. There's been no mention of an issue like this across any of their products. I looked for the TX wheelbase and there was no mention. I looked for the 488 GT3 rim, which I have there, and there was no mention of that issue. And I even looked at just the TX round rim itself, and there was no mention of it. I had a look on different Reddit blogs for a fix. There was one brief one I saw about turning off the power save mode on the Windows device manager, and it was a fix for other people but not for me. It just wasn't a fix for me for some reason. And yeah, I've just had a look on basically everything I can find to try and fix this issue. But it leads me on to the fact that I can't fix it. It basically leaves me stuck with a half-broken wheel, and I don't have the money to keep replacing relatively expensive wheels every 2 seconds, because Thrustmaster will charge $400-500 for this stuff, and this is an expensive range, or a low-level range. If this was an entry-level wheel, I might understand the braking constantly, but it isn't. This is a mid-to-range $500, $600 setup that I've got, and then it just keeps breaking. So I just think it's an absolute joke that they can allow this to happen. The same problem also happened on my old TMX wheel, but I was able to replace that because it was in warranty. But the TMX is an entry-level wheel, so I can half understand that, you know, like that broke within 1.5 years, so that's slightly more understandable and a slightly more forgivable, but on a wheel such as the one I have now, it just shouldn't be happening, full stop. The other problem I have with this, and the worst thing about it, is because of the broken wheelbase, it's not allowing me to buy anything new in terms of buying a new rim, and then being able to use that, because it will then just go and be faulty with the new rim. Obviously, right now, I have the Thrustmaster, the 488 GT3 rim, which I bought back, when was it? Back in April of this year. So I've had it for about 8 months. But before that, I had a Thrustmaster TM open wheel, which is slightly less expensive. It's about $50 less. And I didn't have that for very long because I ran into the same problem. But initially, when I had that one, I thought it was a problem solely with the TM wheel. But now having the same issue with the 488 wheel, it's quite clear that it's a wheelbase issue and not a rim issue. And which just makes it so much more annoying. And obviously, like, I can't afford to buy this poorly made crap, because it costs a lot of money, and and there's 2 reasons why I cannot go for an upgrade, purely because I don't have the money for a Moser, a Cubecube, or a Fanatec wheel, because they cost a lot, but also the fact is that I have 2 perfectly good rims here, the round one and the 488 one, but because Thrustmaster are so elite with themselves, they don't make their rims compatible with Moser, with Cubecube, with Fanatec, or with Logitech, or with anybody else. So, unless I want to sacrifice and throw 2 perfectly good wheelbases and 2 wheel rims in the bin, then I'm going to have to stick with the Thrustmaster base because of this basic, like, elitism. Which just makes my life so much harder. Like, if that wasn't an issue, I would save up a bit more money and I would go and get a Fanatec Club Sport or a Moser R9, something like that, but I physically can't because I've got 2 perfectly good wheelbases. But the one positive of this is I have managed to half get it working with the round TX wheel, so the original one it comes with, and I can use it on iRacing and on all my games, so I'll still be able to play and make content for you guys, although it's not in an ideal position, because the other thing is the clamp for the wheelbase broke, and it's now being held on to my sim racing cockpit with gaffer tape, and not with a proper clamp, so it's a bit loose, but yeah, actually I'm going to show you right now. That is the bottom of the wheelbase, and that is it being held on with tape because the clamp broke along with it. But yeah, so that is the problem with the wheelbase. Alright, and there's just one more thing I'd like to touch on, which I mentioned at the start of the video, were my pedals. So I have a set of Thrustmaster T3 PMs, which, you know, like, just above entry-level sort of pedals. They are load cell, so they have a lot of feeling on them, and they're quite reliable, at least with my experience so far. But the other day, when my wheelbase broke, I had one big issue. I went to calibrate these pedals, because when you want them to work, you have to press down on them once to get them to calibrate, and then away you go, you can use them properly. But when I did this the other day, I pressed down on the pedals, and the load cell spring fully collapsed. And like, it fully collapsed right under my foot, which, I mean, I'm no expert, but that should not be happening. But the worst thing about it was, when it did collapse, a tiny piece of the spring, about that big, fell under the brake pedal, worked its way under the brake pedal, and was just bouncing around loose inside the pedal base, knocking up electronics and motherboards, and the whole thing. And I just think that shouldn't be happening on a $300 pedal base. After that, I left it overnight, and I came back to it in the morning. It took me an hour of just shaking around and poking at it with tweezers and Allen keys and the whole lot. But I did manage to get the piece out of the pedals, so that has now been fixed, and I'm able to use them again. But the fact that it happened in the first place, I mean, is pretty poor, and God knows what damage it's done to the internals of my pedal base. Like, everything is okay for now, which is good, but who knows what that is going to do, sort of like in the long run, of owning these pedals, and I'm a bit worried about that, to be honest. But for now, they're okay, but it just shouldn't be happening, because the whole reason is, whenever my wheelbase disconnects, I have to recalibrate my pedals, and then for it to just fully collapse, I mean, it's just not right, it's not fair, and it's just poor. From a company, you know, that has such a reputation, it's not okay. But, yeah, and again, I don't have the money to go and replace them with a better set of Thrustmaster pedals, or a pair of Fanatec pedals, or a pair of Moser or Simicube, or whatever pedals, because I don't have the money for that. I just don't have the money to keep replacing these things every 2 seconds. And like, even beforehand, I had a pair of TLCMs, which are entry level, I will admit that, but even they broke. They had the glue for the spring just melt around the pedal, and it just got fully stuck, and you couldn't do anything, so I had to chuck them. But those were the issues with the pedals. They are fixed now, which is good, but who knows if they will break in the future, or if a similar thing will happen again. But there you have it, everybody. That is why, in my humble opinion, you should avoid buying Thrustmaster gear at just every cost. Everything I've talked about here in this video is true, and is something that has happened to me in the past. So I haven't made anything up to make a point. I haven't exaggerated anything in any way. Everything everything I have talked about has happened. And all these opinions are based off of those events. But that will do it for this video, everyone. Hopefully this video gave you, you know, like, some good insight into what Thrustmaster really is as a company, and how bad their products actually are, and the fact that I'm sort of trapped in buying these guys' products because they aren't compatible with anybody else. But that'll do it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Have a good day, everybody.